That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly learned here.
Welcome to MOTN Random Select. This is Masters of the Nerdiverse presents Random Select, where we pit pop culture's most prominent pugilists against each other until only one survives. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G, and back on this round 2 rendezvous is Winter Trash Monk the Thizzard.
Trash Monk the Third.
That was a wind-up. And, of course, the big brain himself, Brian.
What's going on? When you say the word pugilist, I think that we need to do a Young Guns introspective, man.
Introspective.
1 and 2, freaking A. That sounds great.
Young Guns.
Pugilist. Anyway.
With is that Emilio Estevez?
Emilio Estevez, man. Regulators!
Emilio! Mount up.
Dude, I think that'd be great. Anyway, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
You doing?
Different day, future. I'm seeing into the future.
This man has mastered clairvoyance, Doug.
It's funny.
Now, have you seen Nosferatu 2? Where he comes back in pog form?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Norse back with a bite.
Dude,
It's
a movie.
called Nosferatu Returns, isn't it?
Dude, it's called Nosferatu. It is a number 2, Doug.
Is it?
Nah, that's free. It's about future
Introducing
vampires.
Isaac Hayes. That's Nosferatu.
It has
no, I see what you're saying. Oh my god.
Clint Eastwood's son stars in it.
Oh my goodness.
He plays Neo Van Helsing.
Big fan of Zachary Quinto.
The name is Neo.
Zachary Quinto wouldn't be a bad Dracula, would he?
No, not at all, man. Not at all. And also, just never mind. Moving on.
Moving on, man.
I'm about to get us all off topic.
All off topic, that's all right. We'll steer you back with the tractor beam, Doug. We're talking about the Yucks today. We're doing a random select of nothing but comedies. We're pitting 8 comedies against each other head to head, discussing their flaws, discussing their greatness, and actually making a decision on which is the quote-unquote better film. We have 2 heavy hitters today for very different reasons. It's kind of funny how, hence it being random, everything kind of shakes down. And speaking of shaking, I am anticipating the conversation with Brian and Winter about 1999's own Office Space.
Office Space.
Directed by Mike Judge.
Mike Judge. Dude, I was just watching King of the Hill last night. I freaking love King.
Bobber? That boy ain't right.
What's your favorite character from The King?
You know what? Over time, it's just grown to be Hank, man. Hank is the reason I come to watch that show, because there's something endearing about Hank, and there's also something that's not right about Hank. And, that's a very well done show. Not every episode hits, but it's dry comedy to the nth degree, which, dude, I'm here for.
Dude.
If it's animation.
Mm-hmm. Who's yours, Winner? Just while we're thinking about it.
Grandpa or Bobby?
Grandpa. Cotton, Doug. Yes. They took my shins. They took my shins in Vietnam.
Who took his knees? What would he say about
never mind.
Never mind, Winter.
We're going to leave all that alone, Winter. Who you think you dating, man?
Winter Wet Blanket the Third.
This is the guy trying to launch MOTN politics.
Well, Mike was using it all the... Never mind. I can't even say it.
I like the lore that I'm just a political scumbag. I'll work with that. to answer the question, it's always Boonhauer. Boonhauer rules.
I like
Boonhauer. He's an enigma wrapped in a vest. That guy.
I'm not going to spoil it in case just no one has seen it, because it's obscure enough that I'm sure people haven't seen it. But I liked how they ended it with Boomhauer.
It makes super sense, didn't it?
That's awesome.
Spoiler.
We didn't say anything. Is Mike Judge a
did
end? It did end.
Right.
Dead end.
No.
How
But
dare
it's on
you?
Adult Swim every night. I don't
It's not like Futurama, which they've brought back, like 3 times? And I think it might be coming back for a 4th, I thought I was hearing a rumor about.
It's literally Rambo screaming "Nothing is over," and it just re it up again. Nothing is over. Nothing.
favorite character in Office Space, so.
Office Space. Okay, is Mike Judge a genius? Question mark.
Well,
yeah, Beavis and Butthead was changed a generation. You have King of the Hill, which rivaled The Simpsons in such adjustment of comedy.
right.
And Office Space, I think, is Mike Judge's only feature film, if I'm wrong.
I was super, I know you're going to ask background with the film, so I'll just say that I had never seen Office Space. Coming from corporate America for like 2 decades, people have been telling me I need to watch Office Space for a very long time. I never watched it because I don't like comedies. And when I saw Mike Judge's name pop up, I was stoked.
Stop that laughing.
Cool.
Dude, yeah. Winner, what's your background with this movie?
Oh, I remember watching it first on Netflix, like getting the DVD in the mail, and then buying the wasn't the Blu-ray, it was just a regular DVD, and I enjoyed it. I was probably in like 8th grade, but still like thought it was funny.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I saw this on Skinamax back in the day.
Skinamax?
Skinamax. Wink. And this was before I knew the horrors of corporate America and in cubicle life, so the jokes didn't hit hard for me because I was still a kid. I just thought it was goofy and it was Mike Judge and it was funny, but it hit way harder, after school and after college and going home from a cubicle job to watch this movie was haunting. It's like watching Looney Tunes now as an adult versus watching it as a kid. It's the context is completely askew, So I had an appreciation for the movie because I was I love Beavis and Butthead, so I thought I was getting that with this movie, and it's completely opposite. This is
thank God.
Yeah, it's highbrow comedy. This movie,
we're calling the real life motion picture of Beavis and Butthead Dumb and Dumber, aren't we?
But Beavis and Butthead Do America. I saw that in the movies.
Well, if we had to put like real life, not animation, like that would be the movie. Cause, it's Beavis and Butthead. Basically.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Office Space, about a man who works a brain-dead job with his TPS reports, who gets hypnotized to not give a shit, and the hypnotism sticks, and it changes his whole life. It changes his whole outlook on how we run as a society, and thumbs its nose, so to speak, at conventional occupational anxieties. This movie has way more to say than it leads on. You know what I mean? Who would you say is your favorite character winner out of this film?
I like Jennifer Aniston's character the most.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen those type of workers before, and it's very spot on.
Yeah.
Particularly with the scene that I chose. That's why I chose the scene. Because it's actually a very real thing of you're not wearing enough buttons.
You're not wearing enough flair. You see Doug over there? He has 27 distinct pieces of flair. That is a Disney thing.
Right.
That is a super Disney thing. Because when you work at Disneyland, you have to wear lanyards. And your lanyards are a reflection of your personality. And if you're not wearing a lanyard, how do people know that you're down with Disney? You're down with...
Is that a real thing?
100%. You have to wear a lanyard, and they make you pick 10 lanyards for free that are direct reflections of your personality. I don't want to wear a lanyard. What do you mean you don't want to wear a lanyard? You see Doug over there? He has 75 buttons on his lanyard, Doug. You see him, Doug? Yeah, Doug, he made Top Greeter of the Year. And it's a picture of him. You remember in Hot Fuzz where Timothy Dalton's smiling? There's a picture of Timothy Dalton smiling behind him.
Yeah.
That silly picture is awesome.
Yes.
That guy was at Disneyland. He's just like, yeah, Mike, you can't have your beard. We need you to have more pins. Have you picked out your pins yet?
Hey, man, the plight of corporate America.
Oh, God. Shivers up my spine, Doug.
I'm doing everything I can to bite my tongue just to not spin this all out completely into something completely strange and weird, and it turns into MOTN business.
Business politics.
Like when you talk about favorite characters and that being relatable, like I have to go with Peter because who hasn't been there, man?
Right.
Who hasn't been there? There are any of us working age, that means like 14, could be younger.
14 to 40, dog.
You know what I mean?
14
we
to
have all
infinity.
sat there and been like, oh my God.
God, what am I doing?
Oh my God.
What am I doing?
And, that opening scene in the traffic, man, dude, I know we're living in Coronaville right now, but my stomach like seized up. I'm like, oh God.
In laughter?
I don't want to deal with it.
Oh.
In laughter, no.
No, Doug.
No. But in
Cringe.
Ironically, yes.
It's rough. Did Mike Judge direct Idiocracy?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I thought it was missing.
I was going to mention that later that, again, Idiocracy is one of those movies that has like polar opinions, I would say. Mm-hmm. Mike Judge does have an effect on him where, like, I don't think I've met someone who kind of goes, about King of the Hill. It's either that show sucks or that's a great show that is like very groundbreaking. It's
brilliant.
Yeah,
it's
groundbreaking in that it shows like age, like a character's learning each week, type of thing, where Bobby doesn't make the same stupid mistake until later on in the series where Mike Judge kind of leaves, but. And then Idiocracy, there's polar where people go, this movie is stupid, and people go, I know, that's the point.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. There's also another film that he filmed that I haven't watched, but of course there's polar opinions about it. Most appointing, it's called Extract. It has Jason Bateman in it. Mm-hmm. And just with some of the critical responses I'm reading, the most disappointing American comedy of the decade, and someone else went the funniest American comedy of the summer.
I'm going to say something controversial, and I don't know if it's stupid or not.
Here you go. Hot takes. Is Mike Judge just the David Cronenberg of comedy? Where it's almost too wet, like the satire he's giving us. It's almost too wet. It's too real.
And look,
it actually hurts.
This is a comedy podcast, so I don't want to go too far down this road. It's an interesting question, though. But when I think about what I just saw in Office Space, my first time, when I think about Beavis and Butthead and everything that you just reiterated, Winter, I think to myself, there are people in each one of those environments that are like, oh, no, this is totally cool. And there are people that are like, dude, how are you cool with what's going on right now? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the divide comes out. So for Office Space, dude, there are people totally in the office that are like hunky-dory, whatever, whistling to themselves in the pit of hell.
And the thing is, I've seen people defend the character of Lumbergh, who was literally the Darth Vader of the Office Space world. And if you defend Lumbergh, guess what? You're Lumbergh. And I've heard people defend, no, Lumbergh, he was doing his job, man. These people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing.
It's corporate America.
It's corporate America, bro. You got to get with the program, my dude. And I'm like, you're Lumbergh, you son of a bitch. Like, I can't with you, dude.
I like that. That could be a T-shirt.
You are Lumberg, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, right. No, if you agree with Lumberg, you are Lumberg.
You are Lumberg. And
like
that is literally a Cerberus head that's leaning over your cubicle, making sure that you're getting your full 400 calls a day. So we were eyeing you. It's about 45 minutes in. You're running a little early. You're too early to work. We need you to be on time. That means you got to be in at 9, not at 8:45. You see that for 15 minutes? That's company money. Right. It just gets right under your skin. And people are still relating like movies like Idiocracy to where we live now. To where we are now. It's scary. It's eerily accurate. And I think that's why I call Mike Judge the Cronenberg of comedy, is because he just gets right under your skin. And you don't, and your natural reaction is, I love it, I want more, he's so smart, or this is so stupid, why is this funny? Right? Because he's rubbing you the wrong way. He rubs people the wrong way,
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of folks who was in Texas that were super offended by King of the Hill.
Yeah, King of the Hill was
super offended by King of the Hill. But King of the Hill is super funny.
Yeah,
it's super funny, and it lasted for like 10 plus seasons.
Yeah.
And it actually ended. It had a beginning, middle, and end. Man, not a lot of American sitcom comedies do that.
Although they need to bring King of the Hill back.
Well, when we talk about Office Space, and I think to myself, all right, Brian, did I laugh? I think when they beat the crap out of the copy machine, I actually laughed.
That's the part, man.
There too, and I you guys can tell me. We've all seen that scene. Did that scene in other movies come first, or is that the first? And because it's my first time doing it. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at the scene and I'm like, oh, well, is this what makes all the other scenes for the next 2 decades like this that I see? I mean, even American Dad has a little scene like that they do.
No, that is a highly...
You know what I mean?
Guy. Yeah.
It's
Family Guy.
Yeah, it's a highly satirized scene,
It was the bird song.
Right. So I don't know. I was going to ask. Do you guys know?
It's a play on previous scenes, but that particular setup was birthed from, I want to say, Office Space.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I will say the downside to both these films, and we'll get into BHC in a minute, but I just coined the phrase there, kids.
I was like, what is that? Is that like a drug hitting the rave scene?
At any rate, both these films could have been done in an hour or even like 45 minutes. You think about something like Game of Thrones and everything they put in an hour or 40, 55-minute episode, whatever it is. It's like, this is lasting long.
Yeah, these ideas aren't necessarily Iliads. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. I would say, I think we could say that Mike Judge, I think that's part of his style, where you're not being hit with like a joke, like rat-a-tat, like a Family Guy type thing, or contemporary comedies. He like says a joke and it like kind of breathes, like it's like pouring a fine wine, pours it into a glass, let it aerate.
His jokes aren't playing the drums. His jokes are like playing the violin.
Yeah. Right.
It's very long and they drag, and it's one joke told over a 30-minute episode.
Now, right? Brian, do you have an illustration for what Mike Judge's jokes are like?
I mean, it's just not an illustration. It's just dry humor. And, you either get it or you kind of don't.
Yeah.
Like, Butthead, it took me a long time to get Beavis and Butthead, but as I got older, I understood Beavis and Butthead, and we'll go into those reasons in a different podcast. It just took a minute. And, I don't know if we have that on tape or we recorded that when you said, is Mike Judd a genius? And it's like, I don't know. Question
mark, dude. That's
like,
maybe.
Think about his stuff. It has lasted the test of time.
Yeah.
Except whatever extract is or whatever you're talking.
Extract, and then he also tried the show The Goods. But it's like he'll have something successful, and then he'll do something else, and it won't be as successful. But then he'll come right back with something else, and it'll be like superb. Like he comes out with Extract, that's not good. And then he comes out. He's the creator of Mike Judge Presents Tales from the Tour Bus, which is an animated series about the first season was about country singers, about how and each one is like an animated telling stories of different singers, and then the second season was about funk.
How many times have you seen Office Space, Mike?
I've seen Office Space. I can count it on one hand. Maybe
Did
4
you
or 5
laugh?
times. Not the first time. Office Space is like I laughed the third time, and then I stopped laughing when I actually had to work a corporate job, and then I laughed again, almost cry laughing.
Winter, did you laugh?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I liked. I thought the guy with the stapler's voice was funny.
Stapler, no
Yes.
salt on my margarita.
Yeah, and then my favorite part is like, what is it that you exactly do around here?
Oh, the exit interview. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's brutal. It's so brutal. It's like, yeah, we've been actually. This guy's been fired for years, but we've been giving him paychecks. Okay, what do? We just stopped paying him.
All I could do was shake my head, and I was like, "What? That's some shit that would happen, man." Pardon my French. And again, not trying to be Mr. Negative, but again, like this movie, and I can see why people are like, "Brian, you really need to watch this movie," because I've been spouting about like this movie, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I've never seen it. So as I was seeing it, I was like, oh, yeah, I feel completely validated, and everyone else feels like I do, but no one wants to say it. No one wants to be Peter. And I was like, you know what? At this late stage of the game and I'm calling it late being, just late in career terms. We've been working a while now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, this isn't really funny. This is kind of what's wrong.
100%, and that's what I'm saying. It's
So, it hit a different chord with me as I was watching it. But I will say that I laughed twice, and I smiled for a good portion of it.
And I'll go into our masterpiece theater saying this is that this movie hits the funny bone, but the funny bone always hurts.
Nice.
Whenever you see a good stand-up comedian, they're saying something that someone does not like somewhere. The joke you're laughing else is laughing.
While they're laughing, you're literally looking into your drink, salty as hell.
Like, no offense, if you haven't seen Chris Rock,
we don't talk about him.
You do. All right.
He's banished from the Nerdiverse. He knows why.
New Jack City, but anyway, moving on.
Pookie is not banished.
Yeah, how
Chris
do you
Rock
explain
is.
that? How do you explain that?
Yeah, Pookie is not banished from the Nerdiverse, but Chris Rock is, Doug.
That's a different podcast.
That's a whole different podcast. He has a shrine up in the Lamert Park of the Nerdiverse, Doug. Oh, dude, you guys ready to get into this masterpiece theater?
Absolutely.
We're gonna
hit it.
We're gonna be reading an excerpt from Office Space. Directed by Mike Judge. I will be the narrator, and we will be starting off with our scene. Peter is saving a table, and Joanna enters.
Hi.
Hey.
I wonder if they will let me wear this in here.
I think it'll be okay. Would you like to sit down?
Okay. Wow, this place is really nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
Oh my god, compared to Tchotchkes, I like the uniforms better anyways.
I like yours.
Nah.
Peter looks at the buttons wearing on his suspenders. One says, "We're not in Kansas anymore." The one underneath says, "Poof."
We're not in Kansas. We're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, really.
It's on your.
Oh, that's my pieces of flair.
What are pieces of flair?
Altogether, insane.
Scene. Very good. Very good. We're getting better, closer, warmer. This is the perfect segue.
That's the snap.
Because one movie that had tons of flair, had 1,984 pieces of flair, was Martin Brest's
1984?
1984.
Okay, all right.
Beverly Hills Cop, starring Eddie
I wasn't
Murphy.
even born then.
The heat is
The on. Man, this movie has some good music, didn't it?
Dude, memories of this movie are literally watching it in the 80s and then getting my red 89 Firebird with black T-tops and playing the cassette up and down the little empty road that I lived on. Love this soundtrack, man.
You couldn't tell Brian nothing, Doug. He was
No,
top, Doug.
no, and at that stage, 84, I was like, that was almost 10, 12 years later, and I was still just rocking out.
Dude,
Nice.
I just watched this movie a moment ago, and I forgot how electric and like it's almost unfair with anybody else in the scene with Eddie Murphy was back in the 80s. Because the guy just resonates charisma, Uh-huh. The dude is he's electric, and he never stops. It never turns off. And he's one of those actors like George Clooney, like Tommy Lee Jones, where he doesn't act, he's just Eddie Murphy.
He's just Eddie Murphy. And as we were watching it, as I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is a prime example of them not like writing a movie around Eddie Murphy. They literally just took Eddie Murphy and dropped him in this movie. They're like, okay, man.
Here you go.
And roll. And that's what you got. You know what I mean? They didn't try for it to be funny or anything like that. That's just Eddie. I'm sure those lines were dry as hell reading them on the script. But when you flash that smile and you get that laugh, and it's like, oh, we're gonna keep that. Yeah, take it.
I wonder how much of this movie was improvised.
I think a lot. Winter, what are your thoughts on before I?
Oh, I think a lot of it was improvised and like several takes, like okay, and like the type of thing where they're doing multiple shots at once, or not at once, but it's like he'll say a line, he's like, okay, let me try it again, and he says it completely different. Just because some of the dialogue is like super smooth, like it's snappy, and it's definitely like Eddie Murphy took the script and like, let me just sprinkle a little bit of magic on it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna adjust things here, kind of flip this there. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, take. And there's some scenes where they actually keep up with him. Like I think Judge Reinhold is a very good foil to Eddie Murphy in this movie because he's so
fantastic. He's so
ditzy in his own little way. He's like Launchpad McQuack. You know what I mean? He's just that's a deep pull, but he's just so along for the ride. You know what I mean? He's not antagonistic, and he's not with Eddie Murphy. He's just kind of floating around. You're like a balloon on the wind, dude.
Yeah.
As I rewatched the film, and I'm not, I can go into it about like action movies as a whole, but this to me strikes me as this. And when it came up, I was like, comedy? Really?
Comedy.
Is that because Eddie Murphy? Really? It doesn't strike me as a movie they wrote to be a comedy. It strikes me as an action movie that they wrote that wound up being a comedy.
Because you injected Eddie Murphy into it.
Well, Eddie Murphy, however the magic ended up happening, you can look at the final. You know what I mean? We talked about Ghostbusters, giant marshmallow. there was no giant marshmallow in this. You know what I mean? There was
Right.
real fun, like, oh, here, we're trying to make you laugh. This was trying to be a 80s cop movie that, you know, I'm not sure the years on Lethal Weapon and things like that, but was fitting into that genre. And because of Eddie, it was funny.
It's
Do you
interesting.
think-
Yeah.
Do you think the 80s are like the beginning of the action comedies?
Yes.
Okay.
Action comedy, because the 80s were the beginning of action in general. The 70s, 80s, because you have black exploitation films,
Yeah.
which were kind
what
of
year
creating
did
that
Dirty
genre.
Harry come out? Oh, I guess Dirty
Yeah.
Harry's more of a detective.
That's what I was. And thank you. I was actually going to say, you just drop Clint Eastwood into this exact same role, exact same plot. It's just Dirty Harry.
Well, I would love to see Clint Eastwood say the exact same lines as Eddie Murphy.
I put a banana in your tailpipe.
No. I'm talking other dialogue that's being.
Well, that's Eddie Murphy freestyling, because there's certain people can't be allowed in the Los Angeles Drake Hotel. You know,
I would love to see Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry.
just drop them in. You know, and you make a good point, Brian. That, you know, is this a comedy, or is this an action with the veil of comedy on it? And it made me think of the Blues Brothers. Is the Blues Brothers action? Kinda.
Comedy.
Comedy.
Is it a comedy? Is it a musical?
Dude, well, I would actually give you a musical. I'd put you, if you had to go one, I'd go it's a musical over a comedy. I mean, it's the Blues Brothers. They were on Saturday Night Live, but they were singing and dancing up and down that movie. And it's fantastic.
That's a movie I would love to do. Like, Aretha
If you
Franklin
haven't
had a
watched
whole
it-
scene, you know?
Oh, God, so good. Anyway,
All right,
moving
Beverly Hills Cop, man. Very short story about Eddie Murphy has a buddy. He's not a partner. He's just a kid. He grew up around in the mean streets of Detroit. Because this movie gives you a very juxtaposition between Detroit life and Los Angeles life. You know what I mean? This movie starts with Eddie Murphy doing a bust, and it's very, like you said, it's very actiony. You could add any 80s action hero in this role, it just completely changes the vibe of the film.
Correct.
And they sent him to sanitized, uptight Los Angeles, right? You know, where a cup of water is $25, and you know all the cops do it by the book, but not Eddie Murphy, but. You know,
Can I say that is something I did find funny, is how squeaky clean they made the Beverly Hills Police Department look. And hey, look, I am not throwing stones.
Right.
Any cops watching this, thank you for what you do. This, that, and the other. But there is no police department. There's no organization in the world that's trying to do it by the book like that. And I just think that when I look at this movie from a 2020 point of view, I was like, oh, this is funny.
dude, it's Demolition Man levels of bullshit. Like no humans act like this, dude.
Anyway, that's just my piece on it.
Yeah, and I really think it was funny. Like, they had to have the hardest juxtaposition possible to make Eddie Murphy pop even harder, right?
Right.
You couldn't have anybody, like, going toe for toe with him on the yucks. He had to be the central focal point of laughs, and everyone was the dry man. You know, was the straight man, so to speak. No one could joke with him because it would dilute the yucks that Eddie Murphy was getting second for second. You know what I mean? I think the villain was a little tried. It was a very James Bondy villain.
Yeah.
You know, it was very, Lethal Weapon, diplomatic immunity. You know,
But it was the 80s. That was the thing, man. Those were the villains. And, they quote unquote aren't the villains today. Anyway, moving on.
It's very hard because you realize this movie's in the 80s, and you realize that there's certain parts that just haven't aged well. Certain depictions,
For sure. Sure.
And that's just the product of the time. But that's no excuse.
We can't let this. I forgot about the lieutenant, Captain Inspector Todd Gilbert Hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Angry yelling lieutenant, Doug.
As soon as the scene was coming up, I remembered it from a kid, and that dude just scared the shit out of me. His voice just yelling at you, and you're like, "Oh shoot!" And Eddie's look on his face, he's like, "Man,
the bird from Aladdin."
Dude,
So-
he looked like this dude will give you a whooping, right?
Seriously.
This dude looked like he was just coming with a belt, Doug. Like I can't handle people who are that cartoonishly aggressive. You know, I got mentally shut down. Like I can't understand what you're
I
telling me.
like that cartoonishly aggressive.
Yeah, like cartoonishly aggressive, dude. Like you're just screaming at me. My brain just shuts down. I'm just staring through you at this point. I'm not even. My fear and sadness have gone beyond the realms of human understanding. I'm just, what? And then you have the Los Angeles lieutenant, who's Dick Jones from RoboCop. I've totally forgot that, dude. It's Dick Jones! I forget the actor's name. He gets thrown out of a window with super long arms. He plays the lieutenant who's the first one to kind of warm up to Eddie Murphy's antics of any kind of real authority. He just starts to like, you may have a point there, but you got garbage evidence, so this will never stand up in a court of law. And we do things by the book here in Los Angeles, LAPD, years before certain riots broke out.
Yeah, Lieutenant Bogomil.
Oh, jeez. That guy rules. I got to
Ronnie
find out
Cox.
that. Ronnie Cox, that guy is awesome. He's my favorite character actors, dude. There's a lot of small little moments. Damon Wayans is in this movie, dude.
Yeah.
He has a bit part.
Damon Wayans.
You know, the Wayans brothers were slowly infiltrating Hollywood back then. You know, like
I mean, 88, we got in color, didn't we?
that's what I'm saying. You know, like
Wait, Winter, you said you weren't even born for this movie?
nah.
Yeah.
My brain just it's funny.
Totally.
Man.
Yeah, I wasn't
The-
even born yet.
He was a twinkle in Winter Senior's eye, dog. A twinkle. It was like, I feel like making love, and then Winter became a human being.
Yeah, and surprisingly, this film hasn't been like in the list of things that my parents want. You go like, oh, this was before your time. You should watch it. Like we've watched Excalibur, Shockwaves, that I always bring up.
Shockwave, dog.
Yeah, remember Shockwaves?
No.
Oh, well, we don't have to go over it.
That's fine. I don't know, like, Beverly Hills Cop and 48 Hours always ran together in my brain. As a kid, like, the movies just intertwined.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a Beverly Hills Cop kid. Like, I didn't watch Beverly Hills Cop 2 and I wasn't excited for Beverly Hills Cop 3. But this one was on with Coming to America and Trading Places back in the day.
Am I wrong in thinking that they're making another Beverly Hills Cop?
I was about to ask, what do we think about Beverly Hills Cop 4?
Is that the one where it's like a new kid and they're passing the torch kind of thing?
You know, they haven't really said. They finally said it's supposed to be getting done. I mean, Lord knows if it happens now or not.
It's a intellectual property. It's a timeless tale, you know.
They've been trying to do it for a long time, and BHC 3 was not good.
That's the problem, isn't it? Like
That's just the truth.
how do you solve a problem like Maria, right? Toof. Like, how do you revise a dead franchise? You know what I mean? Like, you need a lot of money.
It hasn't stopped them from trying. Let's put it that way.
It will never stop them. You know how many movies are like in development now? You're like, what? Why are you bringing that back, man? But
Right.
when there's an intellectual property that made some kind of money, there's always going to be people who want to use it.
If you were going to cast Beverly Hills Cop, and of course Eddie Murphy would have to be in as like the protege or like
The mentor.
We have to get the guy. I know a guy who can help us, and he's and then he like cuts to him.
I would get someone that's not. I would get someone that, and it sounds weird. I would get someone that's not Eddie Murphy, like the most polar opposite to Eddie Murphy. So there's some kind of
John
comedic
Mulaney.
John Mulaney. I was just gonna say I'll get someone that's maybe not black, just to mix things up.
I would love to see this. I don't think this is a film that you can do today.
True. As long as you don't name the non-African American character Axel Foley, you'll be fine.
I just think that
Foley
there's
Axel.
a lot of stuff in the 80s that does not translate well today.
Can you list them out for me?
Sure. No, absolutely not, Winter. Stop trying to bait me.
Winter is
Now,
trying to-
which movie did you like better as the comedy?
Before we get there, we have to do our
God,
scene. we have to do our masterpiece theater winner. We're gonna strangle you, man, with hands unclouded by hate. So let's do our scene from Beverly Hills Cop. Let's go ahead and pull that upper for your listening pleasure.
Yes. Brian, by the way, Brian will be playing Axel, and I will be playing the rest of the first cop and Jeffrey.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that I'm playing the black guy and you're playing the white guy? Is that what you're saying?
We can't even pull this because we're all black, dude. We can't even pull this card. We're all black on this episode, dude.
Brian's playing the game.
Gotta play the game.
Yeah, I'm fine playing this game. That's fine. Your games, you're not pulling me into. Different podcast, bro. Different podcast.
You guys are too much fun.
Beat it.
All right, Axel.
Wrong. Yeah, irregardless, everything you say is wrong. Everything. So just don't say anything.
What?
What's happening?
What's happening?
Nothing. I'm just giving you my stance on it.
Okay. You start us off, Axel.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Way to go, man. I don't understand.
Jeffrey Friedman, a 28-year-old detective, jumps up from his desk and hurries towards Axel. If Jeffrey wasn't a friend, Axel probably would have shot him long ago. He's the classic nudge, and he never stops talking.
Hey.
It's
What? I don't have time.
What?
I don't have time for you today, Jeffrey.
That's your line.
That's your line.
Oh, right. I'm lost, bro. No, I'm lost. I thought we said page 12, Axel Hay.
Yeah, that's how it starts, and we're doing the whole page.
Yeah.
Now, Jeffrey says,
Todd's been looking for you all day. He's really pissed. Says this is your worst fuck up yet, but I think he's being unfair.
Axel glances towards a glassed-in office at the far end of the room. It's empty.
He's not in.
Yeah, I can see that, Jeffrey.
I bet if you busted those guys, he wouldn't be so mad. But I heard you got caught up haggling about the price of something. Or something.
$2,000 is too cheap for that stuff. They would have known I was a cop.
Todd's gonna drill you a new asshole.
That'll be the third asshole Todd's drilled.
I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm just saying it would have been nice if you had made the bust. Altogether, insane.
Scene.
Scene. Can we get some snaps?
Insane.
Yeah.
So we reached that time where we gotta stop talking well about these movies. It's gonna get real quick, people.
Office Space wins by far.
Is that's your take, winner?
Hot take coming from Winter. Office Space for the win.
Why?
Office Space, to me, I have a better connection with. I think it is a timeless classic. While Beverly Hills does have some funny bits into it, it still shows its age.
Interesting.
I would say. Well, Office Space, there's a lot going to it. Where part of the humor in my mind is because some of it is age now. Where to me, I think it's funny that they're complaining about this printer when it's like, it's like just you can. There's most offices have 20 other printers now, or you can press a button and it will self fix or something. But
yeah, they still don't do that. But anyway, going on. Being a corporate guy for a long time, Winter, and I know you haven't been around that long. Complaints. It's like, dude, how can you not get a copy? It's 2020. How can the copy machine still be breaking down? Shit.
I guess the difference between our job is whatever. I probably shouldn't talk about my job. Never mind.
Coffee.
I
there's,
submit.
there's certain universal constants. The air is breathable, water is wet. Copy machines and coffee machines will always be broken.
Dude, seriously.
I'm going to go with Beverly Hills Cop on this one. I think Eddie Murphy's performance is too strong. It hits him in his prime. And the big difference between these two movies is that Beverly Hills Cop made me laugh. We're talking comedies. There were the yucks. There were the jokes. It was a very shallow film. I'm not going to say that it wasn't. It wore its plot on its sleeve. Office Space had a lot to say. That's a ton to say.
We all know Dr. Dolittle is Eddie Murphy's high point, but move up.
Yeah, Dr. No, the Bonetti Professor was his magnum opus. But I had more fun watching Beverly Hills Cop, and Office Space just reminded me of my current existential dread that I cannot escape. So I got to go with the movie that gave me more laughs and made me, was just a funner movie altogether with the action scenes and the comedy. I got to go Beverly Hills Cop.
I am really shocked that this is falling on me, and I did not expect this to go this way at all. Yeah. I like the pressure, and here's what I'm going to say.
I'll give you a stapler.
I don't enjoy laughing. Like I said, not a comedy guy. So for me, it's actually kind of easy for some of these because I can just keep count. I can just be like, oh, you know what? I laughed. Great. Because I do it so freaking rarely that it's like an event every time it actually happens. So here is the deal. Office Space, I laughed twice, as I said, and I smiled the whole way through. Beverly Hills Cop, I smiled the whole way through. I did not laugh one single time because that is not a comedy. And this being a random select of comedy films, if you're gathering up the family for some yucks, I'm going to go with Office Space.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Hard cuts.
Hard cuts. I can't argue with that. Even though I would probably put Beverly Hills Cop in front of, Beverly Hills Cop may be more digestible for a family than Office Space would. Maybe. That would be my only argument. As a kid, it was funny, but like I said, it's a completely different experience as an adult. But I can see your point. Office Space is the stronger film.
No, actually, I did not say that. I said for a comedy fight, I'm picking Office Space. I actually think both films, I think Office Space holds up better. They're both way too long. They both could have been done in an hour type of episode.
Oh,
if I have to go film over film, Beverly Hills Cop is by far the superior film because, there's highs, lows, action, this, that, and the other. But comedy, laughs, no, man, no. That's Office Space. That's Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Never seen ever again, except for the dude from Scrubs and the other dude, which are great.
It's working overtime. It's, making sure those TPS reports are in triplicate. It's Office Space.
Office Space.
Hey,
it's
Jack.
Office Space.
It's just Chinatown Office Space.
Hey, Jack. It's just Chinatown. Guys, this is round 2.
God,
this is definitely round 2. Office Space takes it. And Beverly Hills Cop is banished to the Shadow Realm. This is why we need 3 people, because there could always be that split decision maker. You know what I mean? Which makes our random selects that much more enticing. If what we're going to be doing during this episode is actually posting on Twitter at Nerdiverse, where we will be doing a poll where you can let us know if we actually made the right decision.
Who won the last poll?
Very good question. Ghostbusters won with a whopping 56% of the votes. It was
a whopping.
Whopping.
Almost half.
Almost a gargantuan lead over Austin Powers. I guess people still have Mike Myers on the brain.
It's Austin Powers, man. I said that thing's a generational, that thing had movement. At any rate, so we're looking at Office Space versus Ghostbusters?
That's going to be the breakdown for those two brackets. It's going to be Office Space versus Ghostbusters. Interesting. They're bringing out, I will hold my opinions for that for that fight.
What is our next round?
Next round is going to be Bill Murray's own Groundhog's Day versus Alicia Silverstone's Clueless.
Hard cuts.
That's going to be a hard cut, man.
Is it going to be a hard cut?
You decide.
Actually, it is. I'm looking at this little lineup we have going here. Things are going to get bloody.
Things are going to get super bloody.
They're going to get bloody, man.
Blood will run the streets, and they will be shouting for help. And I will say no.
I will whisper no.
Oh, you got it.
It's funny. I picked Office Space as my dark horse, and I just right now, I voted against it. But yeah, here we are. Hard cuts.
You're the guy who's betting against the horse that they've raised their entire life.
That's why the Mike G bloodline is horrible gamblers. We never win.
You're the Pete Rose of this.
I am. Oh, geez! Don't, please no.
I did finish it, so I did not say it.
It wasn't finished. It was not in the ether. Oh man, where can we find you, Brian?
You can find me at Brian J. Wash on Twitter, and you can find me on eBay at Wash's Shop.
Where can we find you, Winter?
Well, you can find me on all your favorite social media apps under Trash Monk the Third. Does that include TikTok? No.
Specifically not TikTok. You can find us at @mnerdiverse on Twitter. That's where we have all our fun. That's where we actually throw fruit punch into stands of people. And they're like, blood! And they freak out. You can also find us on any of your podcast outlets, from Spotify to Spreaker, from SoundCloud to Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place. So if this is your first time listening to this podcast, I would like to say hello and welcome you to the Nerdiverse. Thank you, fellas, for joining me in this round 2.
Thanks for having me. Great time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we will always ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards the skis.